We will start our meeting here. Thank you, everyone. So let's see here. We'll do our call to order from my left.
Okay, Robert Jones. James King.
Jenny Sisson,
Probably.
and then we will note that Kyle. We're starting just to keep it going.
That's what navigation.
Say your name. Say your name. Yeah.
Kyle Icorn here.
So we are all present and we have a quorum. I will continue on until Kyle gets his stuff up on his screen. So we will have everyone look at previous minutes and then I'll make a motion for the minutes to be approved once everyone's had a chance to look at those. Do I have a motion to approve the February minutes?
So moved. I'll second.
Motion approved. Everyone say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we will move on to our old business, CU 012-12-025-04, findings of fact for 0 South Heritage Way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, well, good evening. It's been a few months since we've been together and with a lot warmer, better weather here than it was back in February. So appreciate you all coming out this evening and for everything you do for Pendleton. So for our old business, we do have 2 old business findings of facts to kind of go over. It's been a couple of months, so but I will go over and just kind of hit the highlights for each one of those. The first one is regarding a conditional use to build and operate 2 hotels, motels within the Gateway Corridor Overlay District within the general business zoning. This was filed by petitioner Pritha LLC. They had desired to be able to be approved for a conditional use to allow them to build and operate that hotel on 2 of its 5 lots within the commercial subdivision Heritage Hub. And that is located at Falls Point Business Park. In review of the criteria, your board had determined that one, that there was no endangerment to public health and safety. The proposed land use was deemed fitting for that area. Nearby properties were similar in use as well as intensity, and that the subject land use would comply and would need to comply once it was issued a COO, a certificate of occupancy, and to comply with that chapter 112 of the town code, which is the new hotels and places of public lodging and regulations there. Also, the conditional use was deemed not to be injurious to use and enjoyment of other properties. It is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Other general and heavy uses, again, are nearby, and the petitioner did receive a favorable recommendation from the Design Review Board. And just to kind of recap, this particular hearing was initially presented in January. It was continued for that Design Review Board to be able to take some additional renderings and to be able to make a good determination that it fit within that Gateway Corridor district. Third, the establishment was deemed to not impede or alter significantly the normal use or orderly development of surrounding properties. It's determined that the use would not create that adverse effect in that area, as well as the petitioner is going to construct an internal driveway for those 5 lots, which will help significantly with minimizing traffic congestion, as well as there's not going to be any access points off of South Heritage Way. The board also determined that there is adequate utilities and road access on the site according to the site design that was presented. All infrastructure needs are available to the site to connect once construction begins, and that there is a large detention pond that is being planned for the south end of that property. Also, there is according to the proposed site layout, circulation, connection to public roadways are deemed satisfactory, and that we expect that the traffic mainly will be coming off of I-69. There was no objections presented before or during the meeting. This conditional use is permitted in the Gateway Overlay District as well as the general business, so long as this conditional use is approved by your body. With all that said, the findings of facts and based upon those, your board did approve the petition as presented, adopting staff analysis as basis for findings of facts without conditions. So that is kind of the summary, the first findings of facts for the first old business. Have any questions or to discuss?
No.
No? Okay, all right. The second findings of facts also was approved at the February Board of Zoning Appeals. This is regarding the property at 6859 State Road 67. Petitioner Kelsey Hargreaves is the owner and operator of Top Star Grooming LLC. She filed that on behalf of Falls Park Plaza and with the consent of the property owner. She had desired a conditional use allowing her to operate a public kennel limited to pet grooming service. Also within the Gateway Corridor District and the General Business Zoning District. Just to kind of reiterate, this conditional use applied to the current suite 1 on that property, as well as then allows her that if a larger suite does come available on that property, she can then expand her service into that suite, limited to 4 operators, but then also limited to just the pet grooming service. There's no boarding, housing, selling, breeding of dogs or pets within that operation. There would need to be conversion to the interior to accommodate the pet grooming services and would be subject to all standards and regulations. The board, through its criteria review, determined that there's no endangerment of public health and safety. This operation operates on a 1-to-1 pet operator ratio by appointment only. The business operations do comply with all regulations, and the development, building, fire, and code standards are met. Second, the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property. This use is also consistent with the comprehensive plan. It's deemed fitting for the subject area, subject property, as well as those properties and businesses surrounding this area. The establishment will not impede or alter the normal and orderly development surrounding properties. This is a drop-off pickup only with no boarding services. Any modifications to the business would primarily be internal to the existing footprints of the suites. And this operation is subject to all the code enforcement such as unsightly premises, noise, as well as upkeep. There's also been the determination by your board that the property provides sufficient access to public roadways and utilities to support the current business as well as the expansion that is being proposed, and that the current business expansion would not require any alterations or anything to the property access to and from the site. Conditional use, again, is permitted in this corridor as well as the general business, so long as this conditional use is approved by your board. No objections were presented, and based on this criteria, this petition was approved with one condition, that the business was to communicate with the planning department staff when they did relocate into a new suite or space within that property to assure that all regulations and standards are met. That is the second findings of fact.
Any questions for Stan? Good.
Covers everything.
Find these at the end of the meeting.
Okay, perfect. That sounds wonderful.
All right, that takes care of old business. On to new business. We have V05-2025-01, variance from development standards to request to allow height of accessory structure of 24 feet 5 1/2 inches compared to 18 feet maximum in the single family residential large lot SF1 district.
Yes, thank you. This petition is a variance from developmental standards. It is regarding property at 6360 South 425. The applicant was Eric Johnson. He is the contractor for the property owners. He is employed through Mustin Builders. He filed this application on behalf and consent of the property owners Bradley and Jennifer Harris. Bradley and Jennifer Harris. They are here this evening with us. They are here to answer any questions that you may have. But their consent form was submitted and filed, as well as all filing requirements have been met, including public notification. The town has not received any feedback, whether in support or in opposition to this application. Just to kind of start here, giving a little bit of details here. We have a little bit different format tonight. My computer is getting updated, so I lost my InDesign. So I've got PowerPoint here, so it'll work, but it'll do the job for tonight's petition. The current site and use details here, it is zoned single family residential. It's the large lot district. Single family runs from either half of an acre up to 2 acres. You'll see kind of in this central area here, and it actually goes from Old State Road 132 all the way up to where this road 425 dead ends. All those properties in there are single family residential, SF1. They are very large scale properties. They are either from probably 3/4 of an acre all the way up to some exceeding even 1.5 acres though. So there are a lot of large properties as well as large homes. A lot of these homes are commonly seen to be over 3,000 square feet. Some of them basement and ranch style. Some of them are 2-story, as well as then there's ranch style homes as well. But this particular parcel is 0.7 acres and it is a 2-story home used for residential dwelling. As you see, it is kind of nestled in between here. This is the subject property here outlined in red. Back here to the east is a couple of Ag 2, the smaller agricultural zoning district. And then across the way here, directly across 425 to the west, are some large single family SF1. Here in this property is a very large Ag 1 property there. So Stephanie, if you can turn to the next page, we'll talk about what the specifics of the variance being sought here. Petitioner is requesting a variance from developmental standards to do the following. First, they are intending to construct a 2-story, 30 feet wide by 41 feet long accessory structure on the north east side of the primary structure. As permitted, accessory structure is a permitted improvement to the property there. This location will meet required accessory structure setbacks, maximum square footage, as well as the maximum impervious coverage. Kind of breaking that down a little bit, setbacks, the side setbacks and the rear setbacks are 5 feet. For this particular parcel, there's about 80 feet from the south wall of the proposed structure to the property line to the south. There is exactly 5 feet to the property line to the north. Here to the rear here of the structure, there is about 90 feet, I apologize, with that 5 foot being the standard. And then from the front facade wall here to the local standard road, it requires a 25-foot setback, but it's 120 feet. So the setbacks standards are met. As far as maximum square footage, I know a couple of you serve on our plan commission. There's been a recent change to our standard. Used to, our square footage, our size, that bulk had to be clearly subordinate. So we kind of analyzed here the last few months of what does clearly subordinate mean. And so there was a determination by Plan Commission and ultimately approved by Town Council last month that in order to determine what square footage maximums can be for an accessory structure, it is 50% of the first floor square feet. So if the square footage of the first floor is 1,500 square feet, all accessory structure square footage is limited to then 750. So for this particular parcel here, it's a large not ranch style home, but large first floor. There is a little bit over 2,800 square feet. So half of that is 14. This particular parcel here is 1,200 square feet approximately. So it falls within that standard as well. This again is a two-story home, and it also has then the additional square footage to be about a total of 3,500 square foot home. As far as the impervious surface, for single-family SF1, there is a 30% maximum coverage for impervious surfaces. That is sidewalks, that's rooftops, that's accessory dwellings and whatnot. So all into taking into currently what is in place, there is about 15% impervious surface coverage currently. Again, 30% allowed, with the proposed addition that will increase that up to about 19 to 20%. So they are still under that requirement standard as well. So petitioners are seeking the Board of Zoning Appeals to permit an accessory structure, and this is where the variance comes in. They're asking for a height variance to allow 24 5.5 feet for the height of this accessory structure. Compared to the 18 feet, which actually was just recently increased as well from 15 feet for this zoning district. But they're asking for the height at the peak. This is kind of a cathedral style ceiling up at the second story that then sits above a two-car garage down below. And they are wanting to utilize this space for a two-car garage, lawn equipment storage on the first floor. Then the second floor would be kind of a multi-purpose facility room. It includes an exercise storage unit, bathroom, a small kitchenette, as well as a golf simulator game room area. There is in your Google Drive, there is the complete construction set there that shows the site layout as well as the architectural layout and design of the accessory structure there. So that is in there as well. But Stephanie, if you want to go ahead and go on to the next slide. And before I do that, before I get into this, the petitioners have made it known and very clear that although there are some dwelling amenities, this facility is not being intended to be used as a dwelling unit, an accessory dwelling unit. This is just for kind of family, personal, individuals to come in. This is not going to be a living quarters on the site here. So for the elevations here, we have the 4 elevations. We have here first at the front, which is the west elevation. This here is what will be visible from 425. So this structure here, you'll see the 2-car garage doors down below. This is going to be a brick foundation, concrete floor. This is going to have, as far as material, it's going to have the brick at the bottom and then composite siding up top here. If you look in your Google Drive, you will see a picture of the kind of Cape Cod style home that this home is. They are going to mirror, if this is approved, they are going to complement the color of brick and color of siding as the primary structure. This here was just in the contractor's construction sheet. So the coloring is a little bit different than what their intentions are. Down below here, we have the south wall. This is kind of the right elevation. This kind of faces internal into the property. So you'll see the 3 windows here at the top. We've got a service door up here, up at the front, towards the driveway. And then as well as we've got some sliding glass doors here at the rear. And then here is the left elevation, which is on the north side of the building. There's no windows there on that side, just kind of for privacy's sake. But then here on the rear elevation here, which would be on the east end, does have a couple windows, one up above and one down below. And this is that small, access garage for their mower equipment there for their property. And then of course, then we've got another large window there from the front. This home would actually be a custom built home structure by Mustin Builders. It's specifically designed, for their needs. The reason for their variance, that they're seeking this variance, is because they want to have a game room, a golf simulator in the second floor. They want to have the additional storage space down below for their vehicles, but then to accommodate a golf simulator up on their second floor, they need that additional height. So the standard for that requires a wall or a ceiling pitch height of a minimum of 10 feet. As you can see here, it comes up here from the top floor here, this second floor. The height here for the wall is 9 feet, just a little bit over 9 feet. But again, it is cathedral. It does go on up to the peak at 12 feet though, to accommodate their desires for this use here. As far as any details, I mean, I'd be more than happy. I can go into staff analysis at this time, but if you'd like, I can pause for some questions that you have as far as the details of the renderings and whatnot for myself as well as petitioner.
I have a question on the primary structure. If, I don't know if I missed it. The height of
The height is
it-
26 feet. I do apologize. I had that in my other, and I was going to mention that. It is 26 feet, so it is about 1.5 feet under the primary structure.
Okay.
Yes. And then a part in review of the homes on 425, there are about 29 homes that hub 425. About half of them have detached garages or similar type of structures. In fact, there is a Cape Cod home farther to the north that is very similar to this home, has a detached garage all the way up to the same height of that peak of that home. But this one would be about 1.5 feet lower than the existing primary structure. Question. Have anything that you wanted to add or anything that missed or anything? Okay. No.
Just put out for public comment and all that.
Yes, it was, Times Post, yes, Herald Bulletin, that is also in your, Teams meeting, folder. All that did go out, timely. They provided their signed affidavit, and their certificate of mailing to confirm the fact that they also did comply with their public notifications to property owners within 150 feet from them.
All right, is there anybody present or online who wishes to provide a comment?
Good evening. My name is Bob Mingle, and my family and I live at 360 Old State Road, 132 West. And I have no problem with what's being requested here this evening. However, I just want to,
Okay, hold on. Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry,
no
before you
problem.
get
We just have a
started, wanna
procedural thing.
officially open the public hearing. All right, it's 7:24. We'll open the public hearing.
Okay.
So sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
that's all right. I guess I ought to start with a brief history lesson. Most of those homes on the east side of 425 were built in the early 2000s, late 90s. And at one point in time, there was one home that was built primarily off-site, and it ruffled a lot of feathers. And so they came out with covenants. And there is a covenant up there regarding unattached out structures. And it says the smallest an out structure can be is 8 by 10, and the largest 24 by 32. There's no covenant concerning height, so just dimensions. So I just need to bring that up, bring everybody's attention. And these are on file at the courthouse if anyone wants to see them.
Thank you very much.
Any other public comment? Board discussion.
Close the public hearing.
Okay, it is 7:25. We'll close the public hearing. So I guess regarding his comment about covenants, is that something that was reviewed or?
I was not aware that there was a covenant or anything to do with any type of subdivision or, I mean, they're all single lot homes, so I was not aware that there was any covenants in place. back in the 2000s.
So
Was that is there a subdivision signage? Is it?
It's not.
it's not a
It's not
subdivision.
subdivision.
Yeah, Shady Bend Estates. Plat. It's platted.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some other covenants for that area, right? How do those normally get enforced?
And it might have been
It's usually
through,
by an HOA. They uphold those. Cause like with Carrot Glen, for example, if we allow a certain type of fencing, but they don't, they trump it. So if they
And-
say you can only use wrought iron, but we allow wrought iron, wood and plastic. They say, no, you can have your fence, but it has to be wrought iron.
And like my neighborhood all had covenants, but then it meant nothing essentially because the HOA never formed.
If there isn't an HOA, I mean, I don't think we enforce those, do we? No.
I mean, if it's recorded, how do we address that? Yeah, I mean, we can't.
Is there an HOA?
I think for purposes of tonight, we're looking solely at a statutory and UCS development standard variance. To the extent that there are covenants out there, I think that's a different issue. Not for this ordinance.
So we don't need to deal with.
Okay. I don't think so.
He told me what the heck, I wouldn't, he put a stop in it.
So Rob, then it would be up to them to enforce the covenant if we approve it and it starts to move forward
Correct.
when they put in for permit or whatever.
That's basically what you said there.
Well, Bob and I were just discussing several years ago, we live just north of, Ryan and Jerry. There's an empty building lot there and then the access road and then, Sid Butler lives there. Now, several years ago, he was wanting to build a detached garage in the back. And I guess I was kind of under the impression that there was a quote unquote HOA, a very inactive, and I don't know for what purposes was there. But Earl Waltz was in charge of that now. When Butler's went around and had everybody sign a petition that they were or were not against that size, it was voted down because of what Bob was saying, so the size of the unit itself. So I'm not sure if there is a HOA. Now, Earl Wallace sold his property and moved out, but he still owns that property. It hasn't been sold yet.
So you don't pay into an HOA and. Fee.
No, I think it was just for wording purposes.
I think maybe it got started when you mentioned or Bob mentioned the house that was not stick built. And
Not on site.
on site, basically all of the neighbors were upset about that, but they allowed it.
Just, I think just to clarify that point, an off-site stick-built house is built to the exact same code as an on-site stick-built house. Just happens to be partially built in a factory. It's not a different code. It's not a manufactured house. It's not a trailer. It's not a double wide. It is a house built to exactly the same code as any other on-site built house.
I guess for the purposes of this board, we're not reviewing or evaluating any recorded covenants that are out there. We're looking at the proposal, how it compares to the UDO and the variance sought. If there's something else out there, that's up to the town to figure out. So
And also, they sent letters out. No one contacted the town. No one sent letters back in opposition, which would be all those neighboring properties.
so I guess we'll step through the criteria for the variance request and have discussion on each point.
You feel good with the analysis that's provided there, and I don't make sure.
It was all
Yeah.
described
Okay,
well.
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect, okay.
And really, years ago, covenants, whatever was created, there weren't we did not have the cut or the UDO that we have in place now. The scrutiny that everything goes under, because we do want quality, we do want things to flow well. I just wanted to put that out there.
That's some good processes in place.
Yes.
I agree.
So the first criteria is the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. And it's gonna be built to code. It seems like it meets the setbacks and its square footage requirements. I guess my only question is, how would you distinguish this structure, which is an accessory structure, from an accessory dwelling unit?
It's just intention of the petitioner, I would say, and
Okay,
there's not actually a bedroom with a closet, as
okay.
far as I can tell. So, that, I would say that's probably, and it wouldn't have its own address, its own meter, of that nature, that kind of distinguish a living space as opposed to just kind of a recreational space.
So I guess with staff's, adopting the analysis by staff, I feel like the first criteria is met.
It is.
The second criteria, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. I think you said what, half of the homes in the general area have accessory units.
It meets the facade is nice. They were thoughtful as far as window placements. Not facing the adjacent property.
Any other discussion? So yeah, I could, based on that analysis, the use and value of the area will not be affected adversely.
It meets it.
The third criteria, the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in use of the property. So, based on what they want to do with the building, it seems like lowering it down to that 18-foot wouldn't allow them to use it as intended.
Correct.
The fourth criteria, the variance granted is the minimum necessary, so the request is for a very particular height, so I feel like.
They needed
yeah.
10, the wall is 9, but the peak goes up to 12.
Yeah, with an overall height of 24 foot, 5.5, so
Correct.
that would be the minimum needed for the height that they want to use.
And they kept it under the height of the house, so it's not domineering.
Fourth one is the variance granted does not correct a hardship caused by a former or current owner, so the improvement isn't there. They're not trying to get a variance for something that's already been constructed. So I feel like that's bad. There was a comment so the bottom half is brick to match the house, the top half, what siding material?
Siding, be like hardy board or.
Okay.
Hardier, smart board.
So do you feel like the architectural style, that kind of meets the UDO?
Yeah, we don't necessarily have, we have the exterior materials that are allowed and prohibited, but there's not like, the same kind of requirements as on the primary, so. An entry feature or so many windows on the front facade, it just, has the allowance of what materials can't be used.
Okay,
So, technically, you really only need one material, but they're going above and beyond that with, I think, 2 or 3 materials.
and the UDO no longer says subordinate. That language is removed, so it does meet the new adopted language and it's lower in height than the primary structure. Okay. Well, any other board discussion? Do we feel like there's any conditions or commitments that are necessary?
Not on those, I don't think.
No. Okay. Well, I guess, I'll entertain a motion. Adopting the staff. Discussion as part of the ordinance and the discussion we had here as findings of fact. I'll entertain a motion to approve the variance.
I'll make a motion to approve the 05-2025-01
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Is that the end of the
It's the end of the meeting. Yes,
All right.
That's it.
motion to adjourn?